Good morning, curious minds, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're getting into a really fascinating and honestly quite surprising text. It feels almost like a mystery unfolding.
That's a great way to put it. We're looking at a transcript from Dwell City Church. It's
Hmm.
based on John chapter 4, verses 46 to 54. The title is A New Healing.
Right. And our goal, our mission for this deep dive is to unpack what this idea of a new healing really means in this passage and, how it points to some deeper truths. You mentioned it's like a mystery the way it starts and ends. Seems really important, like bookends giving us clues.
Exactly. John, the writer of this gospel, he's incredibly intentional. The structure isn't accidental. It frames the whole story and tells us how to approach it.
Okay, let's start cracking this case then. The story kicks off with Jesus returning to Cana of Galilee. Now, is that just setting the scene, or is Cana itself important here?
Oh, it's definitely more than just geography. The text says Jesus came again to Cana, and that's key because Cana is where he performed his very first sign.
So water into wine at the wedding.
Precisely. That first miracle, that sign, it wasn't just about saving the party. It established Jesus right at the start as, well, the true and greater bridegroom. It pointed to who he was.
So people in Cana already knew something was special about him, but how did word get out beyond just that one town? It wasn't like they had social media back then.
No, definitely not. But wedding feasts were huge social events. People traveled. And Capernaum, which features later, was maybe a 15, 20, 25-mile journey, could be a couple of days' walk, so news traveled,
Uh-huh.
Word of mouth was powerful. Guests from that first miracle would have gone home, talked about it.
And his reputation started spreading.
Yeah.
And then connecting back to that framework idea, the passage ends by explicitly saying this was now the second sign that Jesus did. Why does John label it a sign, not just, another miracle? What's the difference?
That's such a crucial point John makes. For him, a sign, it's more than just the supernatural event itself. It points beyond itself. Like the first sign showed him as the bridegroom. The second one isn't just about healing a boy. It's designed to show us something greater about Jesus, about God, about a different kind of healing altogether.
Okay, so Jesus is back in Cana. People are talking about him. And then this new character enters an official from Capernaum. His son is critically ill. The word official stood out to me. What does that tell us about this man?
Yeah, the Greek word used there, basilikos, it's actually more specific. It means a royal official or maybe a nobleman. Think of like a basilica. It has that royal official feel. This guy wasn't just some local administrator. He was connected to the royal house. King Herod Antipas's court in Capernaum.
That Herod. He doesn't have the best reputation in the Gospels, does he?
Not at all. This is the Herod who divorced his wife for his brother's wife, which John the Baptist condemned him for. That led to John's imprisonment and eventually his beheading. And he's the same Herod who later wanted Jesus to perform tricks for him during his trial.
So this official comes from a world of earthly power, politics, maybe even a certain cynicism.
Exactly, a world of influence and connections. But here he is, completely powerless.
And the text says his son is at the point of death. The severity there is stark. What does that tell us?
It tells us that despite his rank, his likely wealth, access to doctors, whatever Capernaum offered everything had failed. There was no human solution left. The boy was, for all intents and purposes, gone. And if we zoom out, you could say this mirrors something deeper, right? This idea of being spiritually at the point of death.
Yeah.
The weight of sin, shame, guilt, that feeling of deep discontentment, things we can't fix ourselves no matter how hard we try. We're kind of beyond self-help at that point.
So facing that kind of terminal condition, spiritually speaking, what's the implication?
The implication, powerfully suggested here, is that the only remedy is Jesus Christ. He's presented as the only one who can rescue us from that state, satisfy those deep longings, heal that fundamental brokenness.
Now, what really struck me is that this official, a royal official, doesn't send a servant, which you'd expect. He goes himself, travels maybe 20 miles. What does that personal journey signify?
It signifies two huge things, I think. First, just the absolute desperation and severity. It's life or death. It's so critical that protocol goes out the window. He has to go himself. Like a CEO flying in for an emergency meeting, it shows this is serious. And second, it shows the depth of his love for his son. Personally delivering flowers shows more than sending someone. His physical presence making that journey underscores his love and desperation.
And connecting that back to Jesus as the second sign, how does that fit?
Well, it beautifully aligns with this sign revealing Jesus as the true and greater royal official. Think about it. Just as this father, driven by love, personally intervened, The larger story is that God, because of the severity of our condition and his immense love, didn't send an angel or a prophet finally. He came himself. In Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. Jesus, the ultimate royal son of David, personally stepping in for our healing.
So the official finds Jesus and he begs him, pleads with him to come down to heal his son. That seems like a normal request, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Back then, healing was often very tangible. You expected the healer to be physically present, maybe to touch the person, to speak a word right there. So the official's expectation was completely understandable.
But Jesus' response is, well, it's a bit jarring at first. Unless you see signs and wonders, you will not believe. And the you there is plural. Who's he talking to?
Yeah, that's fascinating. He's looking at the official, but he uses the plural you. He's addressing both the official and the crowd that had likely gathered round. You see, the crowd. They were probably there for the show. They wanted spectacle, signs and wonders for entertainment. But the official, his focus is entirely on his son's life. Jesus subtly draws that contrast, almost critiquing the thrill-seeking attitude of the crowd versus the desperate faith of the father.
Wow. And the official's reply just cuts straight through that. Sir, come down before my child dies. That word, sir. It seems simple, but you mentioned the Greek word is significant.
Incredibly significant. The word is Kyrie. And in this context, especially with a royal official speaking, it really means Lord. For someone from Herod's court to call this Galilean teacher Lord, that's huge. It shows a submission, a recognition of Jesus' authority that completely bypasses the crowd's attitude. He's essentially saying, Lord, you have the power. Please save my son.
And then Jesus does something brilliant. He sidesteps the whole spectacle issue. He just says, go. Your son will live. How does that foil the crowd?
By healing at a distance, by simply speaking the word. There's nothing for the crowd in Cana to see, no dramatic bedside miracle. And even back in Capernaum, people would know the boy recovered, but they wouldn't have seen Jesus do it right then and there. It denies them the entertainment they were craving. It shifts the focus entirely onto the power of Jesus' word itself.
And the official's response, the man believed the word that Jesus spoke to him and went on his way. That's what you called actionable belief, right?
Exactly. It's like a trust fall. If you really trust, you lean back. If you don't, you hesitate, you make excuses. This man heard the word, and he acted on it immediately. He turned around and started that long journey home. He didn't argue, didn't plead for Jesus to come anyway. He just believed and went. And that raises such an important point for us, doesn't it? Jesus' presence isn't just about physical location. John's Gospel, chapter 1, tells us Jesus is the Word. So when we truly engage with his word, reading it, praying it, trusting it, he is present and active.
So the official is heading home, probably a day into his journey, and his servants meet him on the road. Amazing news. His son is getting better. And he asks them this very specific question. What time did he start improving? They say yesterday, at the 7th hour. Why that detail? Is the 7th hour just a time stamp, or is John telling us something more?
Knowing John, it's almost certainly more. He doesn't waste ink. In the Bible, the number 7 often represents completion, perfection, divine fullness. So specifying the 7th hour, it suggests the healing happened at the exact moment God ordained. The suffering had fulfilled its purpose, whatever that was. Now came the release. Precisely then. It's kind of a quiet encouragement, maybe not to give up when we're struggling, because healing, restoration, it comes on God's perfect timing.
And it also says the son began to get better. Not instantly perfectly whole, but started recovering. What's the significance of that progressive element?
That's another subtle but profound point. When we come to faith in Christ, yes, positionally, we're declared righteous instantly because of him. But our actual lived-out experience of overcoming sin, growing in holiness, that's often a process. The healing starts decisively at the moment of belief, but the journey towards full health, spiritual health, unfolds over time. It's not always instantaneous perfection.
Okay, so then the story concludes, and he himself believed in all his household. But wait, didn't verse 50 already say the man believed back in Cana? Why state it again? And how does his whole family suddenly come on board?
That's a great catch. The first belief, back in Cana, was based purely on Jesus' word, trusting before seeing. Real faith, but maybe, still fragile. But then, when he gets home, sees his recovering son, hears the timing confirmed. That initial belief, it just ignites. It's confirmed by the evidence, the fruit of his trust. It overflows into joy and certainty. This is so different from those who demand a sign before they'll believe. For them, even seeing a miracle might not change a hard heart. But for the official, seeing the outcome confirmed and deepened the faith he already had, and his household. They believed because he surely told them everything. Imagine him arriving, bursting with the story. I went to this man Jesus, the crowd was there, but he just spoke a word. And look, the fever broke at the exact hour he spoke. His testimony, born from that confirmed faith, was contagious. So, wrapping it all up, this second sign really shows us Jesus as that true and greater royal official. We were the ones spiritually at the point of death. But God, in his love, sent Jesus. And Jesus brings this new healing, not through physical presence necessarily, but through the sheer power of his authoritative word. Believing that word is how we move from death to life.
Wow. What an incredible journey through just a few verses. We started with the echoes of the first miracle in Cana, felt the desperation of that royal official, and landed on this really quite revolutionary idea of healing through Jesus' word alone, even at a distance. You're right, every detail really does feel like a clue pointing towards who Jesus is.
It really does, doesn't it? And it highlights that maybe our deepest need isn't always the physical fix we think it is, but that fundamental spiritual healing that only Jesus offers through his word.
So as we finish up this deep dive, maybe here's something for you listening to chew on. What does it genuinely mean for you to, like that official, believe the word Jesus speaks, even before you see the visible results, the healing or the sign, in your own situation? How does that kind of belief, that trust in the word itself, actually translate into action in your life day to day, especially when things still look uncertain?